G'day guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a review of a horror comedy from New Zealand, English language, released in the year 2014, directed by Gerard Johnston, and this film is called Housebound. So the story of Housebound, you've got a young girl and her boyfriend, they're drug addicts and they're trying to rob an ATM. So things go bad for them and they are arrested. So instead of serving a jail time, this girl is sent into house arrest. So the house arrest means that she can't leave her parents' home and she has to report to a security guard every few days. So she's absolutely, angry about this. She's rebellious. She's trying to make life as difficult as possible for all those around her, and she's just bored out of her brain. So one day she actually hears some noises in the house, some very strange noises, and the strange activity in the house just keeps on getting worse and worse, and she starts to believe that maybe it's haunted, but no one's believing her. So she tells the security guard in charge of monitoring her to do some investigating, and this is what he does, and then he is led to believe that maybe something is going on, and it dates back to many, many years ago to an event that happened. So what that event was and whether or not the house is haunted, it's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Housebound. I really enjoyed Housebound. Now if you're a fan of New Zealand horror comedies, you're going to enjoy it as well. Now what I love about New Zealand horror comedy is that it really hasn't changed its approach since the days of Peter Jackson, the early days of Peter Jackson, with Bad Taste and Brain Dead. Now New Zealand do films very well. You've got the Lord of the Rings trilogy, you've got Heavenly Creatures, which was another one of Peter Jackson's films, you've got Out of the Blue, which was very good. But New Zealand seem to do the horror comedies better than anybody else. This is what New Zealand is known for. And so coming into Housebound, I was expecting something of a very high level, and that's exactly what I got. Now, the reason why Housebound works so well is that it doesn't try and change anything. If something's not broken, why fix it? And so it stays true to what made Peter Jackson's earlier films so successful. It's got the quirkiness, it's got everything about the slapstick comedy, it's got different sort of subgenres within the comedy and the horror element. So in comedy you've got slapstick humour, you've got deadpan humour, you've got the dead wood humour where you've got one character who's not funny but works well off the funny characters. Then with the horror element you've got the supernatural horror, you've got other types of horror as well that fit in very well, and it feels like a very well-rounded experience. And it's something so much more than just seeing a simple horror comedy. Now for horror comedies to work, you need a fine blend of humour and horror, and that's exactly why Housebound is as good as it is, because the comedy is there, it had me laughing, the characters are larger than life. As I said, there's Deadwood with the main character, she's not as funny, but that's what makes the other characters as funny. Her mother was really funny. The first scene in the film where she crashes her car was hilarious, and it set the tone for the film very early on. Then you've got the security guard, he's a bumbling idiot, and he works really well off the main character. So there's a lot of chemistry between these characters because they've got one central character who's not as funny, who's the serious type. And it just, you have to actually know comedy to actually understand what I mean by that, is that it just bounces off and it just works so well. The characters are so likeable. Even the main character, she starts off as a rebellious type of teenager and you don't like her at all, but then as the movie goes along, she starts to get a little bit funnier and you start to believe that, yeah, this girl does have a good heart, and maybe that she's just, her teenage years are making her silly. So the character development is really, really good. The characters are larger than life. I thought there were some really spooky moments, so the horror is there. I love the fact that it takes a supernatural turn, and then all of a sudden it'll turn back to something else, so you're not quite sure what to predict. And so the level of unpredictability keeps you wanting to know more about this secret behind this house. You don't know what it is, but you know that it's going to have a rewarding experience and a rewarding sort of climax to the film. And I thought the climax of the movie was really well done. It was really funny, really exaggerated, everything you would expect from this type of film. The acting was very good. As I said, the characters look like they're having a lot of fun, so the actors look like they're having a lot of fun playing their characters, and it looks like the director's having a lot of fun. It looks like the director is a fan of the films like Bad Taste and Brain Dead. You've got the modern day New Zealand horror comedies, Black Sheep, which is a direct sort of homage to Peter Jackson. You've got What We Do in the Shadows, which is a very different type of film, but it was still very, very funny. And New Zealand horror comedy, it feels like it's staying together. It's paying respect to what made it popular in the first place. It's not trying to do anything that it is not capable of, and that's why it works so well. So I think New Zealand are lead runners as far as horror comedy is concerned, and Housebound is no different. I thought there were moments here and there that didn't quite work, but overall it's a very rewarding experience, and it's one that I highly recommend. So overall for Housebound, going to give it 4 stars. Go out there and see it. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.